What's going on, fellas? So we're going to talk about how to become the most charismatic man in the room. Now, you guys know, if you've been watching me for a while, I'm a big fan of the 48 Laws of Power. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to use law number 48 to explain how you can be more charismatic and more charming in your social dynamics and relationships. All right, fellas, so take notes and pay attention. All right, fellas, so basically law number 48 states to assume formlessness. That means to be formless. Basically, that means is to be like water. All right, G, I'm going to make this very simple today because if you understand this will definitely help you become more charismatic in your interactions. Now, how do you be like water? Water pretty much has no form. If you look at a bottle of water, that water in that bottle takes the shape and form of the bottle. If I take that bottle of water and I pour it into a bowl, the water is going to take the shape of the bowl. Now, because water is formless, that doesn't mean that water is weak, and it does not mean that water doesn't have power. When water is calm, it's beautiful. Think of a nice, beautiful, calm ocean. But when water is angry, it's dangerous. Think of a fucking tsunami or hurricane or some shit like that. All right, G? So you need to be like water. When you are like water, what that means is you're adaptable. Why is being adaptable important? Because you're dealing with humans. Depending on where you are, whether you're talking to a woman, there is no one woman that's the same. Now, we all know they all critters. Gee, I say this all the time. But every woman is different. No one woman is the exact replica of another one if you break it down to personality or the things you may be talking about in your conversations. Because this is what this has a lot to do with. Your day-to-day conversations and interactions. Even when it comes to business, every company, every industry, every boss, every manager, every coworker is not the same. So it will benefit you to be like water, being adaptable, also being able to understand people, being able to empathize with people. Because when you're talking to someone and you're trying to connect with them guys, especially a woman, you want to have the ability to empathize with them. What that means is putting yourself in their shoes so you know how to communicate with them to get the best results. Maybe that's to persuade them, influence them, get them on your team, get them to believe you about something. Or you just running game, fellas. Whatever the case is, you need to be like water. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. Now, how is being like water going to help you out socially? In social settings, I'm going to give you some big words today, fellas, that you can write down. In social settings, it's going to make you more relatable. Depending on who you're talking to, the most charismatic people in the world can pretty much talk to anybody. They don't really have a type, to be honest with you. Because you know when you hear people and they say, oh, this person's my type or that person's not my type. When I hear people say that, what that tells me is they have no charisma. Now, I can understand if you don't like somebody or you prefer not to be around somebody. But if you can only connect with a certain type of person, and that's most people, that's most men, they can only approach a certain type of woman or a certain type of person, and they can only be friends with a certain type of dude. That will only get you so far in your life socially. You'll be minimized to the people who you'll be able to relate to if you're not adaptable and you can only talk to one type of person. Most people can only talk to people who they look like or who they talk like or who believe in the things that they believe. So even if you don't agree or not fully on board with somebody believing, or even if you don't talk like someone, or even if you don't communicate in the same type of way that they communicate, it is good to what? Be like water. So one day I met this Asian dude, right? And I don't remember what country he was from. But one day I met this Asian dude. I think he was Japanese. And when we shook hands, the moment we shook hands, he kind of reached out and kind of made some distance between us. Now, that kind of confused me because he made me feel like I stank or something. Gee, I'm like, damn, bro, you got to stand 6 feet away from me. And mind you, this was before COVID. So I was tripping, bro. I was like, what's wrong with me? And then I noticed he was much more distant when it came to space. And every time I would kind of lean in when I'm talking, because y'all know I'm real dramatic when I talk. Every time I would lean in when I'm talking, trying to connect, he would kind of back up a little bit. And then I learned, and I cannot remember if he was Japanese or not, but there are a few countries and cultures in Asia where they find it offensive if you stand too close when you talk to them. And I also found out that there are also some other cultures in Asia that they actually like standing close as fuck to each other, all right, G? But when you learn this and you're not afraid or opposed to talk to different people, you'll understand this, so you'll be more relatable when you actually do talk to people and do connect with people. Because really, most times it's about getting out your comfort zone, because it's just a learning experience. When I sold life insurance for about a year, 90% of the agents that work with me were Hispanic and over the age of 40. So I was way out of my comfort zone at the time. I think I was about 25 or 26 years old. So I'm way out of my comfort zone. So on the surface level, on paper, I couldn't really relate or connect to anyone. But at the time, in order for me to be successful and capitalize on a network that I had to be adaptable. I had to find out a way to relate to these people. So how did I do that? I basically did it through charm. And I remember one time we had like this little work office party. Remember I said most of them were Hispanic. A lot of them were from El Salvador. So one time they brought pupusas. For all you guys who know what pupusas are, the shit is delicious. All right, I must have ate like 18 of them straight in like 30 minutes, bro. Now, how did that help me when I said learning experience and being adaptable and relatable? Anytime I meet someone from El Salvador, I bring up pupusas and I have a great conversation. And it makes me 10 times more charismatic because they sitting there like, how the fuck you know about pupusas, G? And then they end up inviting me over to the crib to eat some, all right, fellas? So understand, don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone, G. You can't be afraid to talk to people who don't look like you, bro. See, this will not only make you more charismatic, but it'll bring you more opportunities. So what do you have to do? Another thing about being more charismatic is embracing change. So for example, if you're an introvert, there's nothing wrong with being an introvert, but this should not limit you in your social interactions when it actually comes to talking to people. So embracing change. As an introvert, you may be used to being by yourself, kind of low tempo settings, low volume settings. You probably don't like a lot of loud noise, probably don't like a lot of people around. I'm kind of the same, G. I don't like to be around large groups. You know, like thousands of people at a time, like at a concert. I really don't like the vibe. But if I'm ever in that situation, because maybe I have to be because of business, or maybe I'm just there, G, I will adapt. All right? I say this all the time. Being an introvert is not being an incel. It's two different things. I'm an introvert, but when I get around a lot of people, the charismatic switch turns on. So you got to embrace change. Your football coach told you that shit one day, all right, guys? So embrace change. Now, fellas, here's a perk to being like water. All right, G, you avoid predictability. You avoid predictability. And I'm going to frame this when it comes to dealing with women. So if you take a bottle of water, guys, we're going back to the bottle, and you pour it onto the concrete or floor or some tile, you don't know where the water's going to go, and you don't know where it's going to spread. It's kind of unpredictable unless you build a dam or you got some kind of walls to direct it. All right, G? And that's how you want to be with women. You want to avoid predictability. How do you do this? You be spontaneous. You can do anything to a woman, G. You can say whatever to a woman as if she got burning desire for you and she actually like you. But most things you can say to a woman. You can offend a woman. You can piss her off. You can make her cry. You can make her laugh. You can make her happy. You can scare the shit out of her. You can fuck her best friend. But what you cannot do is make her bored. And how do you make her bored? Being predictable. All right, G? So be like water. Now, after I said that, a bell went off in a lot of you guys' heads, and it's relating to a personal situation, a scenario that you got going on right now, and you're probably being too boring. How? Saying the same shit over and over, taking the chick to the same type of place, or the only place y'all hang out is your crib. Now, that's not a problem if you know how to provide an experience. But if you just sitting up watching Netflix, and that's all y'all really do outside of going out to eat, fella, she will get bored and move on to the next dude that's going to give her a little bit more excitement. At least an emotional roller coaster. And that's another thing about it. There's a lot of men who argue about the fact, and they say that you shouldn't give a woman emotional experience and that's childish. Gee, tell me how that's working for you. Because from my experience and my observance, women tend to stay around the men who can keep them in their goddamn emotions because that's what they like and that's all the fuck they know. All right, G. So understand, be like water. And I can understand for a man, sometimes it may be hard to be spontaneous because as a man, you should be structured. Gee, I'm a hyper structured person. I got a routine so tight that if you interrupt it or get in the way, I'm pissed off. I might be crashing out on you. But at the same time, I got to understand, I got to be like water around women. I got to loosen up a little bit, all right? Savor the moment because you know with women, it's about the vibes, all right, G? So you got to keep the vibe right, all right, fellas? So law number 48, assume formlessness, all right, fellas? So I appreciate you guys for tuning in today. If you have not checked out any of my social skills ebook, fellas, I've just dropped two, one for beginners and one for professionals, all right, fellas? And if you got value today, share this with a homeboy who this will help out, all right, guys? It's your boy, KD. We out here, baby.